Gary Ridgway, the Green River Killer, one of America's most notorious serial killers, and perhaps one of the most twisted, for more ways than you might think. Today we're gonna delve inside the mind of Gary Leon Ridgway. Some see him as the worst American serial killer to ever grace its sunny land. You're listening to the Raspy Apple Podcast.
Now, can I just say welcome back to the second episode of the In the Mind of series.
Yep.
So we're just going to dive deep straight into Gary Ridgway.
Exactly. Go check out our last episode from
Richard
the Night
Ramirez.
Stalker. Yep, Richard Ramirez.
Great ep.
Great episode.
First episode.
You know, join
Many
the
more
Raspy
to come.
Apple family.
Many more to come. So yeah, Gary Ridgway.
Gary Leon Ridgway.
Leon, yeah.
The Green River Killer.
Born 1949, Salt Lake, Utah.
Yep.
I mean,
that's a normal background. It's a very nice place.
Yeah.
You know.
Is that north?
Midwest, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Second son of Mary and Thomas Ridgway. Middle child.
Nice.
I mean, is that a bad thing?
I mean, it depends.
I mean, middle child syndrome.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean,
not the favorite, not the worst.
no, not at all.
Yeah. My thing with Gary is, right, and the thing that a lot of people tell you about him is, he was just a normal guy. He's the guy who might take your mail for you if you're away. You could go up and give a hug. He's just your average guy in the Midwest, right? Until you really delve deep into his past. So, obviously we said he was born in Salt Lake City, Utah. But what we might not know is the trauma he had to go through. So, he suffered from, and guys, let's be mature, wetting the bed until he was a teenager, right? And his mom had to obviously clean him up after that, you know, in his, say, no-no areas.
And wetting the bed is a thing. It's a trait of a serial killer.
Is it?
Yeah, early life.
Wow.
Yeah.
I did not know that. That's so interesting.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, he had that trait, but what happened is obviously his mother had to do that for him, and he started to develop feelings of intense lust for his mother.
Yeah, like when we say clean him up, like she'd have to see him naked.
Yeah, exactly.
And he'd get
rageful.
Rage, but somewhat aroused.
Exactly, very aroused. And, you know, we see that he used to spy on his mother sunbathing and everything, so he was already having that mental lineage of kind of, you know, not so much trauma, but just a traumatic experience that led him to develop these kind of behaviors.
100%.
And we see this manifest when he was, I think he was 16 or around that age, and he goes to a nearby, you know...
Was it school or neighborhood?
I think it was his neighborhood, but it could have been a school.
Okay.
But he takes a knife and stabs a 6-year-old boy, I think in the liver.
In the liver, yeah.
And...
Because I remember reading a book, actually, some interesting fact about the liver.
Okay.
When you stab somebody in the liver, the blood comes out darker.
Oh, wow. Why? Because it's unfiltered, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like...
Hasn't gone to the kidneys
remember The Outsiders? When, I think it's...
Ponyboy didn't get stabbed?
No, Johnny stabbed one of the socks or something. He stabs him in the liver.
Oh my gosh.
And then describes the knife being dark red in colour.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's crazy, but...
Nothing got to do with the case, but...
No, it's interesting though. But he says, why did you stab the 6-year-old boy? I wanted to see how it felt to kill someone.
Luckily, the 6-year-old boy survived.
Yeah, but
thank
still.
God.
No thanks to Gary. Like...
no thanks at all, no. He's a very strange guy.
And he in his teenage years, apparently, not a good student, which doesn't really mean anything. But
IQ was low.
IQ was like 80s, I think, which, you know, doesn't really mean anything.
I don't know much about IQ, but as far, like, I presume, like...
the reason why I think so many men are, like, serial killers as opposed to women is we tend to deviate from the spectrum, right? So we're either at the low end or the very high end, right? So that's why you probably...
There's no real in-between when you think about it.
Exactly, for men, there isn't, right? Women,
like, you look back in school... You have your class.
Yeah.
There's either, like, not the dumbasses, but
like,
the people that don't want to work.
They're just not at good school, but it doesn't mean they're stupid.
Academically, like, behind.
Exactly.
But, like, people that, like,
pass just, exactly.
every test, you know.
But, like, the thing is, like, women tend to average out more. So on average, women are smarter than men.
Yeah.
But what happens is more men are at the very top of the IQ, like the Einsteins, the Bill Gates, the Steve Jobs.
Hawkins.
Yeah, exactly, those type guys. But then there's also a lot more of us at the bottom of the IQ, right? And of course, there's obviously average IQ men. That's not what we're saying, but we're just saying, you know, for the whole population. But what happens is, usually when you have a low IQ, right, you don't think sometimes of the kind of rational things that other people might think of, right?
Oh, yeah, you're in a different world, kind of.
Exactly. So, again, we're not saying people with low IQs are murderers or serial killers in any way, but that's just what happens, right? That's why so much more of the...
Like, there's a trend.
Exactly, and, prisons are full of men for a reason.
Yeah.
High testosterone, low IQ. What can you do? But what we're saying with Gary is he got into a fight when he was a teenager over this girl, and the brother said, take it back. And this is what's strange. He took out his thing and basically peed on your man's leg. Now, some might say, well, that's strange. Why would he do that? But the psychologist said this was not only a show of kind of dominance, but it was also a show of lack of societal norms, right? So when you're fighting, you don't just do that, right? You throw a punch or anything. He did that to show, one, he doesn't care what happens, but two, he's not thinking in the same kind of plane we're thinking of.
Think about it, though. You can't really pee on command.
Exactly.
Like, if I told you to pee right now.
Right.
Can't.
Maybe Gary couldn't. Maybe he just had it saved up. I don't know. But
yeah. That's weird.
That is strange.
All right, yeah.
So that's another telltale sign. But anyway, we get past his kind of weird childhood with his mother.
There's not much on his childhood.
Not much, but there's enough.
Yeah, there's enough. I mean, his mother just came across as domineering.
Yeah.
Domineering.
Which is weird, He hated her, but also lusted after her. That's kind of what we see in serial killers. They conflate kind of lust and violence.
Yeah, like he probably suffered with like the, I don't know how
Oedipus
complex.
I think yeah. The Greek guy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like he probably wanted to be his dad or something in some ways, but then
maybe.
like just hated his mom in some others.
It's weird. It's so weird.
Yeah, it's strange.
But he goes into the Navy and goes to the Philippines, right? And this is where his story gets a bit of foreshadowing.
Okay. Is that where he meets his first wife?
No, this is where he's already married when he goes to the Navy.
Okay.
Right? So we don't really know how much about his first wife or how they met, but he was married already. But basically, he goes to the Navy, he goes to the Philippines, and, when in Rome, he uses a bunch of prostitutes.
Oh, okay.
In the Philippines.
Doesn't he get an STI?
He gets gonorrhea.
Yeah.
And this...
It doesn't bother him, though.
It doesn't, but foreshadowing, he hates that he got gonorrhea from the prostitutes.
The women. Yeah. Okay.
So he develops a deep hatred of prostitutes. Confound upon that, when he gets home, he finds that his wife had an affair. I think 3 times almost.
Okay.
But his wife had an affair, and these are his words, not mine. My wife has become a W word, right? A whore. So we kind of see this kind of tracking where we're not seeing him outright kind of start his vengeful conquest, but we see the building blocks for it. And this is what I feel is kind of missed out on in a lot of serial killers. We look at their childhood, skip the middle of it, and just get to when they started committing crimes.
This is kind of like...
This is a ladder, man.
Yeah.
This is one step at a time, right?
Like, this is kind of bred into him.
Exactly.
He definitely wasn't born.
Oh, yeah. He definitely developed this.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah. But he divorces the wife after the affair, and he meets another girl. I know, some of us are struggling to find one. He finds 2 already, and is a serial killer. What can you do? But he goes to a singles club, meets this girl, and for some reason he just has this superpower, quirk, or whatever. He just finds vulnerable women very easily. So he
feeds off the weak, really.
He feeds off the weak, exactly. So he finds out this girl, and she's very subservient. Not in like a way that's, good, like, say, when I say good, it's like, it's not like she just wanted to help him out in anything, right? Basically, when you say subservient, that can mean, well, I'm going to put my needs, right, away.
I mean, he was your typical 80s guy.
Yeah.
Had the mustache, had the hair.
Exactly. And we're not saying he didn't look crazy or anything, but yeah, he went to the girl, and the girl seemed very nice and kind, and was willing to put herself, after him, right, and put him before her.
Satisfy his needs, if anything.
Exactly. But Gary took it to another level. Gary would, and he wouldn't force her or anything, but he would have her have sex outside, on the beach, in the woods.
He had an obsession with the woods.
Exactly, right? And he was just an exhibitionist. He liked to do things outside. So what we see is that when she had their first child, he was enraged because obviously, in the later months of pregnancy, you can't do anything.
Yeah.
So he then started to do weird things after that 9-month period or whatever month period.
Did he start his killings during this?
Well, no, I just want to focus on kind of the building blocks still.
Yeah, okay.
He came up behind his wife sometimes, and as quote-unquote foreplay, would start to choke her.
Okay. Okay.
right?
Yeah.
Before anything, like just behind her,
Right.
he loved scaring her, he loved shocking her, which again caused her to leave him. So he was already enraged at the first wife. Now he's enraged at the second wife, and now we kind of see that transformation, right?
Absolutely, yeah.
So he starts his killings while working at this paint factory.
Okay.
And everyone in this paint factory says, "Oh, Gary's a nice guy, really precise at his job."
Okay.
Little do they know, there's a murderer, a sheep, and a lion comes among them. His first killing, obviously of a prostitute, he throws her in the river.
Green River.
Yeah, Green River Killer, there you go. And a little boy finds her.
Bro, I heard a detail that the way the river was flowing,
Okay.
I don't know if it was this body or another body, but the current was like making
Oh,
the arm
her-
stand up,
yeah.
and it looks like she was waving for help.
Yeah.
Obviously, she's dead, but that's
so cracked,
scary.
isn't it?
That's scary.
And the detective was like, that image never left my mind.
Yeah, like that'd keep you up at night.
And the thing is, one person said they saw the prostitute last get into a pickup truck, right?
Gary's pickup truck.
Gary's pickup truck. So the police went to Gary's house, where the pickup truck was, and they questioned him. He was such an unassuming guy. He was such a normal guy. They said, "Oh, he definitely couldn't have been the killer," and left. So the reason he got away with all these killings for so long is because he acted like nobody, right? And at the same time was every man. He was your normal guy.
I mean, he was cool, calm.
Yeah,
But
exactly.
was he collected?
That's the question. I don't think he was. I think he put on the facade of being collected, but internally he wasn't collected at all.
No.
Like in the slightest. But yeah, he would. Now we kind of see where he would go. He would prey on prostitutes on this kind of road in America where it's a long road in the south of America, and usually truckers or those types go on it, and that's where prostitutes are, or runaways. They're also there trying to hitchhike. So he would probably maybe lure them into the car, lure the runaways, say, "I'll give you a lift," and then kill them. And he would choke them, foreshadowing, right? Till the last breath of life was in their lungs, and watch the life dissipate.
Yeah.
And didn't you tell me, why did he bury the bodies again?
He buried the bodies to refuse the urge of necrophilia.
So
That's in his later murders.
Right.
Now that's fucked up.
So he buried the bodies to make sure he wasn't get sexually attracted to them.
Well, obviously he was sexually attracted.
But
That's why
like,
he
not
did
to
it.
do anything with it.
But he did it with some bodies.
Wow.
But he complained about maggots and flies.
Wow.
Which is really disturbing.
Which is really disturbing, right? So yeah, and, you know, his early life is foreshadowing. He starts doing these killings, but the thing I find kind of scariest about Gary, and I'm going to jump ahead a little bit now.
Okay.
At his trial, right? He's kind of not at ease, but he just accepts everything he's getting.
I feel like he was somewhat at ease because he kind of plea bargains. Please everything.
Yeah, he
So he doesn't
guilty.
get so he doesn't get the death penalty.
Right.
So he's kind of like, okay, I'm gonna die in prison. I'm not gonna get my life taken away from me.
Right. It just seems like if you were in that same position, obviously, you know, killing 48 women is a very hard position to
Definitely
be in.
more, 100% more.
Oh yeah, he admits to 78. He
Yeah.
admits to 78, yeah, or something. But like, I don't know, just to think you're gonna be spending the rest of your life in a metal cage, right?
Solitary confinement.
Solitary confinement or whatever.
4x4 box or something. Is it? I don't know.
Something like that. Like it's like not
It's
even,
nothing.
It's
It's
probably
nothing.
not even bigger than your bedroom, right?
No.
And just to be like, the judge was like, "Do you want to, you know, say you're guilty to all of these murders?" He's like, "Yes," and he just monotone, "Yes." This girl, yes.
Do you plead guilty?
Yeah.
Yes.
Like no
How do you
emotion.
plead guilty?
Like there's no emotion.
No.
And
I find it very strange actually how. Actually, not strange, but interesting how everybody, the victims and the families would have their word to say, and then this man comes on, and instead of throwing hate at him and like
ragging
everything,
on them. Yeah.
he forgives him,
Wow.
and it brings out the some sort of human
Wow.
in Gary.
Wow.
He starts crying, and that's the first time you kind of see emotion coming from a guy like him.
Because that's the thing. Let's get into the mind of Gary, right? Or any serial killer, but Gary especially. When he's going after these women, he doesn't think of them as women. He thinks of them as prostitutes or runaways or less than human. Because he disassociates, right? Like, we don't see him kill his wives, which would be what you would expect, right? We don't see him do that. We see him take his wrath out on random people which he doesn't care about, which he disassociates from. And I'm not saying this is anything akin to this, but almost like a soldier at war, right? A soldier at war can kill hundreds of other soldiers because they don't know their names. Yes, they're being paid to fight. Yes, they're trying to kill you. But it's that same kind of thing.
Like, mentally, he's a misfit to society. Definitely. And he's a real piece of shit, really, because he took everything from... every bit of hope away from the victims. Like, obviously, they're not going to remain strippers and prostitutes forever.
Yeah.
They're going to even the runaways, like, they're going to settle. They're going to, like,
exactly.
Every bit of hope that they had.
Like, the youngest girl he did was 16. Like, you're 16, you're a runaway. Like, a lot of us have been there where you're just like, F this, I'm going.
Yeah.
Right? But to take that life away now, no, that's something I can't forgive. But keep going, bro.
No, that's all I really want to, like, point to.
When you say he's a misfit to society, didn't you find it strange that he passed his polygraph test?
That's insane to me.
Like,
the only people that can pass...
Sociopaths
can only pass.
Because
polygraphs.
I think the way a polygraph does it tracks your heart rate and your sweating and things like that. Basically,
the respiratory and all that. Yeah.
The normal kind of telltale signs that a regular guy would have, say, if you're lying, right? And they... See, I didn't know this. Polygraphs do controls, right? So what they do is they say... are you sitting on that chair right now?
Oh, yeah, they give you questions first. That's how it works.
Yeah. But they track how you tell the truth, and they track how you lie. What sociopaths can do is they can just not shut off their emotions. It's like they don't even have them in the first place.
Yeah.
Right?
Like they're in, like, a sunken place.
Honestly.
Just watching their bodies.
Yeah. And they can just react to things.
Yeah.
Like, you always hear the story of this Russian agent who passed, like, 10 polygraphs. Because, like, that's what some people can do, right? So... Like,
would you call it poker face?
It's not even a poker face, because poker face just means, like, you're hiding your emotions. I don't think he even has them, right? Now, obviously, we see him crying, but, like, that took for him to not only do all these murders, not only be forgiven for the murder, but be publicly ousted on the murders, right? It's not like this was just a random guy coming up to him. My thing with him, with this is, and why I find this such a strange, not even strange, but just deplorable occurrence, is that you're taking women in their weakest state, right?
Yeah.
You're taking prostitutes and runaways. People who have no other choice. Like, in my view, prostitution shouldn't even be the last choice. I'd rather you steal something or do something else than you
steal
become a
something,
prostitute.
go to prison, get a bed.
Exactly. Like, honestly, like, and I'm not saying that's any way good, but what I'm saying is I just think it's deplorable that a society lets this happen. Runaways who might have been in an abusive home, right? Might have had to run away. And, you're a man, right? You could do so much to help them. Right? Not even just because you're a man. Just because you're a working man.
It's the right thing to do.
Exactly, right? You're physically stronger. You have a leg up on these people, especially in the vulnerable people in this situation. And you choose to abuse that. You choose to abuse someone when they're in their lowest state just because you can. Just because you feel an intense hatred, right? Not to that person specifically, but to that type of person.
Yeah.
Right? Which is what's really, really getting to me. Because if that was your daughter, if that was your sister... right? Gary wouldn't have done that, right? Like, if he was related to them, he wouldn't have done that, right? It's only because he feels like they're less than human that he feels he can do that, right?
It's just crazy how, like, somebody can think one thing and, like, act on it. So, like, obviously he hated prostitutes and all that.
Yeah. But he takes it to the next level, though.
He does. Like, you could not, like, I don't know.
You can hate in your heart.
Yeah, right? But you're not going to act on it.
Exactly.
If you're a rational person, you're not going to act on it. I don't know. I actually have a question for you.
Yeah.
How does one choose their victims?
How does one choose their victims? With Gary, I think he already had a preset type.
Oh, definitely, yeah. Gary's an easy one. Because from the get-go...
But I think there's a bit more to that, actually. I think what Gary did is very maniacal. What he did is, he probably didn't stalk his victims, but he probably asked them questions. Are you hanging out with other girls? Are you a part of any kind of pimp gang or anything like this? Do you have connections that can trace some kind of link to you disappearing with me, right?
Not even to get, like, caught, but get caught quicker.
Exactly, because he's gonna get caught eventually.
Yeah, eventually
right?
he would. Yeah, he did.
How do other serial killers pick their victims? Like, that's such a hard question. Night Stalker didn't pick his victims. If your window was open and your door was unlocked,
he's in there. Yeah.
Right? Some other people, it's a really clear link.
I mean, Jeffrey Dahmer, just boys, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was boys, yeah. So, And but like, look, Ted Kaczynski, the Unabomber, right? He had an intense hatred for kind of the societal structures in education, so he bombed universities and people like that, right? So it's there's different motivations, but I think the overarching thing, just to answer your question, is they're gonna target people who kind of either remind them of their trauma or he thinks can get retribution of the trauma, right? They're gonna go after people that kind of gives them that satisfaction, like, well, I couldn't get
fills their needs.
Yeah. Like, I couldn't get the person who did it to me, but I'm gonna get you because you remind me of them. You know what I mean?
It's just crazy how he thought like all these women were the same. Because obviously everybody's different. Everybody has their own personality.
Just because you're in the same position, because you're in a position, doesn't mean you're the
just
same.
because I'm like, I don't know, like an electrician and you're an electrician, we're not the same person.
Not all prisoners are the same.
No.
Not all salesmen
Like, you're not
are the
convicted
same.
of the same murder.
Not all Wall Street brokers are the same.
Exactly.
Like, people have nuances.
It's just crazy. He wasn't open-minded, really.
Yeah.
He just kind of fixated on the one thing and took advantage of them.
Exactly.
You know.
And it's such an easy thing to take advantage of people like that.
Oh,
right?
like that, yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
Like, as you said, the people that he like fed off really were on the route of like truck drivers. So obviously they know their business.
Exactly.
Gary knows their business.
Exactly.
Gary's gonna swoop in there.
Exactly.
Just
Saw a gap in the market, right?
Yeah.
So, like, it's just... What I find the worst, especially in these types of crimes, is not even the killing, right? Because everyone knows killing's wrong. It's that Gary never let on anything. They did not know he was the killer until they started using DNA, right? Like, he could have been interrogated. He could have maybe shown some signs. He didn't show anything.
I believe he was interrogated though.
He was. What I'm saying is, he could have been interrogated. It wouldn't have made a difference.
Okay.
Right? He didn't show any signs. Right? And I don't even think that's because he's a sociopath even. He was methodical. He cleaned up after his work to stay free for the longest amount of time.
He did settle down actually for a few years.
He had he didn't have a third wife. I forgot to mention
third
that.
wife. And I don't think he had the kid with her. No, the second wife.
No,
he
the
had
second wife he had the kid with. Yeah.
But he never showed harm to the kids or grandkids of this woman. Got married to this woman. And he treated the third wife different to the second wife. That he wouldn't sneak up on her. He wouldn't show any of them signs of oh my god, this guy is gonna do something
Isn't
harmful
that even
to me.
more evil? Isn't that because you're hiding your true identity from your wife? Not because you're ashamed, not because you want to keep the marriage intact, because you know that if you ever reveal your true self, right, not only will you be put in prison, but you'll be seen as a monster.
Because she looks like the type to not tolerate anything like that. You know?
Fair enough, yeah.
But imagine just living with that and not knowing.
You're sleeping in bed next to that every night.
Yeah. He's playing with your kids.
It's insane.
But like, he's living other lives. And like, I think she said once, like, he'd be at work and be like, oh, I'm running late. I'm going to get like some food somewhere. But he wouldn't be. He'd be like...
strangling the life out of a prostitute somewhere.
Like, they're all... Like, some of them were found with like ligature marks.
What are those?
It's like a rope or, you know.
Oh my gosh. Really?
Yeah, just strangulation with like string or whatever, you know.
Oh my gosh.
It's crazy. Yeah, it's just not enough. Like, I don't know.
And you know, we always feel like, you know, serial killers are these loner types, these lone wolves that society kind of outcasts.
Likeable guy though, wasn't he?
Yeah, but that's what I'm saying. Serial killers actually tend to be the opposite, right? They tend to draw people toward them for some reason. If they don't draw people towards them, right, he's normal.
And because he's sociopath, instantly likable.
Yeah.
You can gain his trust. He can gain your trust.
Exactly.
And like, it's surprising how he didn't kill people who he had the trust with.
Exactly. That's what my thing. He didn't kill his wives. He didn't kill anyone who was close to him. He went out.
Obviously, like he would show like the second wife.
Yeah, the signs. Yeah.
The signs, but
even then though, the only reason he showed those was because she
was into it.
Yeah.
So.
I mean, obviously it got too much. She divorced him at the end, but like in the beginning, before the son, because having a child obviously changes you.
Yeah,
but
yeah.
Like, yeah, you know, and he imprinted his twisted fantasies, right? And you know, it's weird that he went after the prostitutes because you would think if he had an Oedipus complex, he would go after maybe older women. But you never know how old these prostitutes were, right? But
if they range down to like 16.
Yeah, exactly. So that's what I'm saying. I doubt they're like 40s, right?
Yeah,
exactly.
And it's crazy how like he looks at his mom and like I wonder did he think of his mother when performing whatever, not even a ritual, but just act on these women. It's just
he must have.
I mean, that's the foundations, really. The mother, and then the anger for the prostitutes over in the Philippines.
It was just a domino effect from his childhood into his late teens, adulthood, now middle age, and he's doing all this. But I want to say, finally, about just to touch on what you said, the forgiveness aspect when he actually showed some emotion. The reason I think he showed that emotion there was not for the reason I think a lot of people think. I don't think he was regretful. I don't think he was sorry. I don't even think he was sorry he got caught. He just seems like the type of person that when he actually sees the consequences of his action as a rational person, he said, well, it's not just me killing a prostitute now. It's not just me killing a runaway now. It's me killing someone with a family. And I think that actually got to him.
Oh, you think it actually clicked finally?
Yeah, I think it actually clicked finally, yeah. I think finally he understood, well, wow, I'm not just killing a nameless woman. I'm killing a woman with a family.
With a name.
With a name, exactly.
Yeah.
So that's why I think it finally got to him. And forgiveness is the worst punishment you can give to your abuser.
Seriously?
Yeah, forgiveness, like, everyone's like, I want to take revenge on my... No, forgiveness is the ultimate revenge.
Or it just makes them reflect.
It makes them reflect. It shows that you're the better person.
Yeah.
Right? Forgiveness is the ultimate punishment. Right? And I'm not saying you should be forgiven insofar as that you don't go to prison. That's what I'm saying. But emotional forgiveness. Right? It's the best punishment you can give. Because not only are you saving him, you're saving yourself, which is more important.
Where did Gary act? In Seattle?
Yeah, Washington. Yeah.
So didn't he move to Seattle?
From Salt Lake, yeah.
From Salt Lake.
Mm-hmm.
And then he started doing his murders.
Mm-hmm.
Settled down for a while. And then murdered again.
Yeah, exactly.
And finally got caught.
DNA. It took DNA. And guys, remember, DNA is not like we see it in the TV shows.
What was strange... For me, the strange thing was, like, I watched a documentary and there was nothing really about the police. It was just all like...
The one I watched was about the police a little bit.
Oh, really?
And apparently they were super incompetent.
Oh, really?
Now, fair enough, they actually caught the guy when he first did it, but he kind of tricked him a little bit because he seemed such a nice guy. But yeah, the police just... They didn't do what they were... Like, I saw this one thing where... Before DNA... Because remember, this is the 80s, so DNA didn't come into, like, early 2000s, 1999.
Oh, yeah.
Like, they would have, like, identifying things, like, say, from his workplace, and just say, oh, you know...
So DNA is that old? Or, like... New kind
yeah, DNA's DNA, and when it first came out, like, it wasn't like you see in, like, in TV shows. It's like, you know, oh, like, I take your sample of your thing and I run it to this big computer and you pull up. DNA is not like that. Like, it's tough. That's why, remember the OJ case? The prosecution said, you know, just because there's a 1 in 124 million chance to 1 that this blood is OJ's doesn't mean that it's OJ's. When DNA, it can't tell you if that blood is actually somebody's. It can just tell you this is the likelihood of this blood belonging to someone, unless you actually have...
Because there's many people with types of blood.
Yeah, exactly.
The same type of blood.
Exactly.
Even.
And again, you're taking blood from... Not from the body. You're taking it from the surface of something. Yeah. So it's bound to be a little bit contaminated.
True.
So...
Well, in the OJ case, it was contaminated.
Yeah, you know, if the glove doesn't fit, right? But what
Back
DNA now... I'm not saying it's as bad, but it's still not like you're seeing, like, you know, oh, I take a little spit and now I can see everything. Like, it takes a long time.
Yeah, I'd say back then as well.
Yeah, exactly.
It took a long time to win.
Yeah, what, 20
Trace
years?
back to him. I mean,
2 decades.
Got caught in 2003.
Started in the 80s, yeah.
That's a long time.
That's a long time.
That is a long time.
Like, that's longer than some of us been alive.
And they're still not finding, like, some bodies.
They still haven't found other bodies. He's only been convicted of 48. He's admitted to 70.
Now, that's sad for some women.
Stop.
And families.
Yeah, like...
I'd say being a woman... Like, being a prostitute at that time, I'd say it's scary. But
yeah.
He wasn't talked about back then. Like, there wasn't a name on him. Remember, like, Night Stalker?
Yeah.
Going back to him again.
Yeah. Green River only came a bit later.
Yeah, Green River, but they didn't have a name for him.
Yeah, exactly.
Because
they didn't think these were connected. Because they're prostitutes. Again, this could happen to so many prostitutes. Just a bad buyer, right, gets angry. You're gone. You're dead. And he was burying them. So Night Stalker didn't care. Night Stalker just left them and left all the evidence there. Right? It's very hard when you choke someone. There's no quote-unquote murder weapon. Like, a rope isn't a murder weapon unless it's used for murder, right? A gun is a murder weapon, right?
Yeah.
A knife can be a murder weapon, right? Very easily. A rope can just be like, oh, I'm a painter. I need a pulley.
Had of Gary killed that boy, do you think his victims would have changed?
This is what I think, right? And this is butterfly effect, or the sad thing is, do we sacrifice one life, hypothetically,
Okay.
to save all the others? If that boy would have died, right, obviously Gary wasn't identified because there was no murder. I think if that boy would have died and they find out Gary did it, right? He's never murdering again.
Okay.
He would have been stopped. He would have been either put into a psychiatric ward to get help or
Juvenile prison.
Yeah, exactly. Or maybe
because he was 16, he wasn't
but
adult.
you never know. Like they could have tried him as an adult and got him on life.
Yeah, true.
Especially for killing a child.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like even because like it's not
that
like,
gives you a bad name in prison.
Stop.
Like you're
pedophiles and child killers. Yeah. So like I think like if like you're playing the game of life and you could go back in time and say, well, we kill this one boy to save all these other victims. I don't think that's fair enough to do because you shouldn't sacrifice one life to save another. But again, there's people who say, well, if that life would have died, then we should have saved 40 more, right? So that's a moral question. I don't know. And do you think his victims would have changed with that? No, because I think he just stabbed the boy because he was close and because he just wanted to see he died.
I'd say the number of prostitutes victims would have lowered.
Really?
Oh yeah, I really do.
Wow. Why?
Easy target. Kids an easy target.
Why? So you think he would have switched to kids more so than...
Not even switch to kids, but like...
That would have been his motive.
Mixed a bit.
Yeah.
Like...
Yeah, you might be right about that, because the only reason he would seem to really hated prostitutes was because of what happened in Vietnam or Philippines. Him getting gonorrhea.
Exactly. But like, just say he had to kill the boy.
He might have said, oh, this is nice.
This is easy.
Yeah.
I got my first kill. This gonna be like...
Yeah. And we see serial killers, they go after homeless kids a lot. So...
Just another question for you.
Yeah.
Back onto the third wife. Mm-hmm. Why does a serial killer settle with a person? In Gary's case, his third wife. Mm-hmm. Like, she seemed clueless.
Clueless.
So, like, why do you think he settled?
I think there's a few reasons. One, it just looks good. It's very hard to think a family man with a wife, kid from another marriage. Yeah, working 9 to 5. It's very hard to say, oh, that guy's the killer. And listen, we're thinking Gary in a vacuum. He saw it work for him before. When the police came to interrogate him, couldn't be this guy. He's such a good guy, a hard worker.
Yeah, do you think he thought he was, like, invincible? Not even invincible, but, like...
He thought he was smarter than them, and he's probably not wrong.
Yeah, I get you on
that's
that.
The sad thing. I mean, we're saying he outsmarted police with an IQ of 80, but, like, that's not even what it's about. He just knew how to play the game, whether that's because he's a sociopath or not. Right? And again, like...
If you want to play the game, you gotta know how to play it right.
Exactly, and, I don't think he was born a serial killer. He was born with the tools, though. Like...
Yeah.
Yeah, like he wasn't like
he definitely wanted to act on it. I feel like he could have just, I'm not saying he could have pushed aside images of like his mom and all that fantasies, but like I just feel like there was time for change.
I definitely feel like there was time for change, but it just seems like every stage of his life was just marred with just signs of him being such a high risk.
Yeah.
Right?
What's crazy now though, he's still alive.
Oh yeah. Life in prison without parole.
He got I think he got 10 years on top of everybody that he lied for.
Yeah.
So he has 408 years.
Yeah, he's 3 life sentences, what is it, 10 life sentences or something, that's insane.
But he has loads. He's dying now. He's
not getting out, and Washington, we forget, is a more, kind of softer liberal state, so even if he had the death penalty, sometimes in states, like California, I don't think they have the death penalty anymore either.
Probably
right?
not.
But what we see increasingly is states and prisons even try not to keep people there for so long because sad to say, the quicker someone gets to the death penalty, right,
the more space they have.
Exactly.
Yeah,
right.
yeah.
So that's the sad thing about it. But yeah, like life without parole, some people say, that's too lenient. You took 70 lives. Well, the only thing is for you to take your life. Now, I'm not in favor of the death penalty, but, my mother's never been killed. My sister's never been killed, so I don't know how I'd react. I would hope that I stick to my morals, but I can't say that. And I can't imprint that on someone else whose family members being killed, close family members being killed, to say, oh, well, just because he killed her doesn't mean you should kill him. I can't say that to someone.
Yeah.
Right?
I got a bit of a stupid question.
No stupid questions.
No, it really is a stupid question.
Only happy accidents.
What do you think Gary's doing, right now in prison?
What do I think Gary's doing right now in prison?
Right now, at this moment, as we're talking.
I think the better question is, what do you think he's fantasizing about?
Right. Say he's still fantasizing.
Oh, stop. It doesn't stop.
I don't think he's fantasizing.
Listen. Prison.
What is there to fantasize about, boys?
No, listen, I think he's good point. But I think he's fantasizing about, all the murders he did, reliving them,
I'd say he has dreams at nighttime.
Yeah. And my thing is this: prison in many parts of the world, many states, many, prisons in the world are not for rehabilitation. They're for punishment. So they don't care if Gary rehabilitates himself. They just don't want him out in society, right?
True.
So even if he does get some psychological counseling or anything, I don't think it's anything strenuous enough for him to get quote unquote cured, right?
So do you think he could get cured? I personally don't.
What I think is I think he can control it. I don't think he could get cured, because if we're saying that he's had this trauma, I think he can cure his trauma. I think he can get out of that. But that urge to kill might never go away. Now, you can control the urge, right? We have a lot of urges to do a lot of things, right? But we don't act on them. That's what makes us human.
Yeah.
Right?
Okay. So he's not human.
Like I said, he has the tools not to be.
Yeah.
Like his brain doesn't click in the same way ours would, right? Because, and again, I'm not saying that he's just a monster in it all, because we see that he can feel emotions. We can, but at the same time, it takes some monstrous ability to just be able to kill that many people. And especially the first few. Like, as it goes on, you just get used to it.
The amount that he got away with, it's just...
78 kids...
It puzzles me. Because,
puzzles everyone.
You could try do that.
Stop. You were not getting away with that.
You're not getting away with it.
Stop.
Maybe because, the 80s again.
Nah, not even.
But, the place in Seattle, Green River, is that, derelict?
Washington does have some kind of country type areas, but at the same time, it's no. I don't believe that he is just could be any one of us, right? I don't believe that at all. I think that he had a skill set. He knew how to. He knew how to. Like I said, he knew. He
read the police really.
Yeah.
He did know how to read the authorities.
But he knew what victims to pick, right? Listen, I'm sorry to say this, no one's gonna think twice when a prostitute ends up dead, right? It's just that so many of them ended up dead.
Yeah, that's
right.
Yeah, I get that. So, yeah. There was
that's the sad reality.
It was a mass murder.
That's the sad reality, right?
Over a period of time.
If the police did an investigation on Gary's level for every prostitute that died, they'd probably be there all day. Now, I'm not saying that's right. I'm saying that's the facts of the case. That's the facts of what the world we live in is. So
I found interesting actually as well, when they found one body in the river, they'd kind of find more. But really quickly.
Really quickly. He just same dumping places.
It's he dumped them all at the same time, but different positions. But obviously, it's different nights that he dumped them.
Yeah, so there's different levels of sinking and everything.
And then he turned to the forests. Now, the forest is weird because he dumped the bodies there. He buried them. Some of them he didn't bury, actually. But he'd bring some women there before he killed them to have intercourse with them. Now, that's...
I think that just goes back to his kind of trauma.
Yeah.
He takes them into the woods. Maybe that's somewhere he feels safe. Maybe that's somewhere he reminisces about the good times, quote unquote. Or maybe...
But it's places you wouldn't really go walking.
Exactly, but that's what I mean. He feels like he's alone. He feels like he can control this kind of space. And
it's his territory.
Yeah, exactly. So, I think you really have to wonder... Again, like I said, I'm not saying that, any one of us could become Gary. What I'm saying is look out for the signs, because any one person could become Gary, right? Don't put it past people. Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's just...
Do you have any questions, not to put you on the spot?
Yeah, no, I do. My question is, right, if you knew Gary, do you think you would have spotted him? Do you think if Gary was your neighbor, if Gary was your co-worker, do you think, I would have known he was a Green River Kelly, these people are stupid?
Interesting. I do not.
I don't either. I think he would have.
I think he played the third wife. And I'm not saying she's dumb.
No.
But I'm not saying I'm smart either,
Yeah.
I feel like everybody was in the same boat, really.
Yeah.
Everybody was in
But you would expect his closest wife or relative or whatever to know.
The one that you're, dying with, you get me?
Yeah, exactly.
You put that ring on the finger.
Death do us part.
Exactly.
Except I'm a murderer. And the fact he had 3 wives, obviously he wasn't killing until second or third, but, still.
Yeah. Oh.
That's so crazy.
It doesn't sit right with me.
Next question.
Okay.
How do you think his son feels, knowing he's the son of the Green River Killer?
Does that give you a good name?
Did he change his name? Does he...
Yeah, actually, did he change his name?
I don't know. That's a good question.
because like nothing ever really comes up about his son.
Which
Unless
is
you
good.
look-
I don't want it to.
Yeah, no, but unless you look in depth
Yeah.
into Gary.
Yeah.
But what was the question again? Do you think Gary's son?
What do you think Gary's son feels, is doing? Like, what do you think? How do you think? This
Say he
affected
hates
them?
his dad. Do you say he has any traits similar to his dad?
That's the thing, because our murderer is born or made. Again, we're not saying that.
I hope he's just settled and like
Yeah.
thinks his dad's a bad guy, real piece of shit, because he really is.
Yeah, but like it's crazy. Like, what, 3 generations down the line, we get the next Green River Valley killer, and then oh wait, guess what? He's the Green River killer's 10th grandson or something. Like, it's strange. It's strange.
And just going back on the timeline again, it's just it is crazy how he really got away with it. I mean, we're talking about the 80s, settling down in the 90s, and kind of starting up again.
Exactly.
Setting up shop one more time.
One last ride.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's
just nasty. It really is. It's just crazy. It's just crazy. Final thing.
Okay.
Do you think Gary should have gotten the death penalty?
The death penalty. It's a tough one, really. Like taking a life.
Especially for the government to take a life.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do I agree with it? When I was younger, didn't bother me.
Yeah.
Kill away. Like
Yeah.
I'm just.
Yeah.
I was young. Like,
Yeah.
But now that I'm older, I
More
think
nuanced,
of it.
more nuanced.
Is it the right thing to do?
Is it? That's a good question.
Like, or is it right letting them suffer in a box for like
Yeah.
life?
Or should we be focusing on rehabilitation?
I mean,
That's hard, because I don't want to see someone.
places like Norway, I believe, like the prisons there, it's literally open land. They can walk
Oh yeah,
around.
it's a hotel.
Sweden, I think you can just
Imagine
walk
seeing your sister's killer and rapist in a 5-star, basically, right? Getting out in 10 years. I would be happy with that.
No.
Is it better for society? Yes. Is it good for my personal state? No.
No, but like everybody's personal state is different.
That's a
Like
fact.
the man who forgave him obviously doesn't want to see him die. Forgave him. Doesn't want to see any harm put.
The other 47 though might be like, hey man.
Yeah, I mean,
Like-
majority rules. I mean, he's gone.
Yeah.
But
Quick drop into sudden stuff.
yeah, the plea bargain was definitely like
It was controversial. It was.
it is controversial in many cases because
It's an easy way out, isn't it? And it's not the easy way out. It's any.
you say he's
way out.
scared to death.
That's a good question. Are the people who inflict death the most scared of death?
Is that why they kill? Is that
I
why
don't
they
know.
try to
That's a
kill?
good question.
That's a great question.
I have a theory that is.
Okay.
I have a theory that the reason people kill so much is because, well, a few things to do with death. They want to feel like they have power over death. So if they can inflict it on others, right? Well,
That's kind of like Satan speaking, though, isn't it?
it really is the evil in man.
Yeah.
And you can't say it's anything else. You really can't. Like, humanity doesn't have enough of itself to just say we have the power or we have the kind of drive to kill another person, right? There's that evil in us that comes from somewhere that just is supernatural. Like, I can't imagine looking at another human being and obviously you think of saying, oh, I wish I could kill that guy. But actually doing it, in the aftermath of it, hiding it, burying them.
I wonder what the aftermath is like.
How
Especially
so?
in Gary's case. Like, you kill somebody, are you, like, nervous? Are you like, I gotta dump this body quick?
Or he'd keep him in the trunk for a little bit, drive around,
Yeah.
get a shake or something. Like,
Yeah.
You don't know.
You don't know.
He seems like the type.
I think it's
though.
good that we don't know, though, because...
You don't want any copycats. Like, you want to know exactly how he did it, and then you see Green River Killer Point 2.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, it's strange. I mean, thoughts go out to the family and all.
Oh, of course. God bless all the victims, because that's just heinous.
It is very bad. Yeah, I mean, Gary, real piece of ass.
Gary Ridgeway, Green River Killer. What can we say about him? I mean, to kill over 40 people, admitted to over 70 people, it's like we need to highlight these people to show that evil doesn't just happen in the cinema, right?
Hell can be on earth sometimes.
Exactly, and there's agents
In this
hell.
case, 100%.
Right. So, just be nice to each other. Be good to people, ask how they're doing,
Yeah.
right? Don't take it for granted that...
And don't look down on people.
Exactly.
Because you don't know what other people are going through.
100%.
Runaways.
Prostitutes, they all have their
Yeah.
stories,
Exactly.
and we should be
They're
here...
all human.
We should be here to protect
They're
them.
not objects.
Exactly.
So
So protect them. Don't look down on them.
yeah. So
And don't encourage behavior, but don't demonize it either.
Do you have anything else?
No, I think that's good, guys. Thanks for tuning into another episode of the
Raspy Apple Podcast.
See you guys next time. Comment, share, subscribe, and like.
Thank you.